Welcome to All Pro Football Data. My name is Jim Coburn, and today's episode talking about Dorian Singer, wide receiver out of USC. Singer was the second team All Pac-12 wide receiver in 2022. So that's pretty impressive for that particular number. Going on to offensive market share data. So if you're new to the channel, new to the stuff that I do, I evaluate wide receivers specifically based on their offensive market share data. So you take an individual statistic and divide it by the team total, and then that number is then compared to positional peers to give a percentile score. And based on those numbers, this is where Singer ended up. He had a 60 plus percentile receiving market share score, 70 percentile total offensive market share production score, and then 54 percentile in terms of his touchdown market share score. This is out of 3,710 wide receivers since the 1969 NFL draft class. Moving towards his efficiency scores, these are numbers that look at, how efficient he was with the football in his hands, yards per touch or touchdown percentage, how often he ended up in the end zone when the ball was in his hands. Based on these numbers, Singer tested well in terms of his yards per reception, but his touchdown percentage was very, very low, basically 40 percentile in terms of that particular metric for him. So these are not exactly the numbers that you're looking for at the wide receiver position when you look at his overall market share and his efficiency scores. But when you look at his adjusted production scores, adjusted production is the context for his production. This takes a look at things like his strength of schedule, strength of team, how old he is as a prospect, to kind of give you, how productive was he for his age, how productive was he for his level of competition, of course, how productive was he for his, team, how good of a team was he on. And based on those numbers, he tests pretty well in terms of his adjusted production traits. 85 percentile in terms of his pass rating, 91 percentile in terms of his MSA rating, which doesn't take into account his efficiency scores, and then 90 plus percentile in terms of his age. Those are kind of the numbers for him. So his age really helps him out a lot in terms of his adjusted production scores and the fact that he played at USC. Those numbers also kind of help him out a little bit. Looking at the guys who tested similar to him, these are all the wide receivers that had similar production traits and similar MSA ratings, similar pass ratings, if you will. And you got guys like Josh Huff, Miles Boykin, Riley Cooper, Antonio Callaway, Tim Jones, Greg Childs, Alec Pierce, Amari Rogers, Jonathan Mingo, and Ardarius Stewart. Those are the guys that kind of tested most similar to Singer based on his production traits. Looking at the overall outlook for Singer, I would say Singer profiles as a backup to starter long term. Dorian was seen as a potential breakout candidate in 2023 before injury. So there was a whole season in 2022 that we didn't really get to see because of the injuries that he sustained that year. So I would expect Singer to either become a long-term backup or break out in the NFL as a starter if he's fully recovered from his injury. Those are kind of how I kind of view it with him. So, he is somebody that I think is a tweener. He's in between a backup to a starter. So it'll really come down to what team he goes to, the opportunities that he takes, how well he develops. Those are all the big things that you want to look for in terms of Singer's profile. I still think he's an interesting prospect to look at. He may not even get drafted, guys, especially since he hasn't really played since 2022. A lot of teams are kind of, what have you done for me lately? And lately, he hasn't done much of nothing because he didn't play. So those are kind of the things about Singer to kind of point out. But overall, thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Jim Coburn, also known as Geometrics on Twitter, at Geometrics at X. You can check me out there. You can also check out my other stuff at patreon.com/jcoburn. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.